Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking about Cull Obsidian after his changes slash balance changes slash nerf slash whatever. Basically we still do have a rank 2 duped Cull Obsidian. We're going to bring into some act 6 and we're going to have some fights in Realm of Legends, just because I had featured him in here quite extensively previously, and we're gonna see what's changed, what's not, and so on and so forth. So initially you can see that yes, armor breaks do trigger more frequently and last longer in the first fight, which is kind of helpful, where a lot of his damage comes from, but that's not like the major part of the damage. If I may add, it's kind of like one of the three important factors, obviously road buff being the second one and your Thanos' blessings being the third one. So all three of those things combined is what create the damage. However, the presence of route buff obviously didn't change, because otherwise that would kind of like be OP. That was increased as well. And duration of Thanos's favors did not change either. The one thing that did change is the amount of armor breaks you can proc and stack in the first fight. And as a result of that, pretty much it becomes evident that the damage increase in the first initial couple of fights is not really as expected, I'd say. Because once you break it down, the fact that only like about third of your damage comes from armor breaks, let's say third of your damage comes from route buff in a typical fight, and third of your damage comes from Thanos' blessings. The fact that you kind of slightly increase just the armor break by like 10% realistically adds, let's say, somewhere about 3% of the total amount of damage. But you guys get the point. So if you increase something that accounts for 1/3 of the total damage by 10%, you do not get 10% total damage increase. You only get a fraction of that. And that is kind of evident because even this fight after the buff, I think pre-buff, I got him down still sub 100 hits. And this fight is going to go in 80 plus hits. And previously I did like 90 hits. So the difference there isn't that major at all. And in my opinion, this kind of defeats the purpose of this balance change, because the idea was to ramp him up quicker and easier, and the fact of the matter is it's pretty much the same, plus there is no increased sustainability. And yeah, so that is definitely kind of like immediately letting me draw my conclusion that the balance update all in all in general was a flop and a way to bring down his total damage output, because the increase in initial fights is not, well, it's hardly noticeable, I'll leave it at that. And later when we're gonna get in the video, we're still gonna see that Cull does some extremely crazy damage, and that definitely also hasn't been spoiled for the character. So he still hits like a tank when ramped up and when played correctly, but his ramp up is pretty much the same. So that more or less, to me personally, and I would have loved to love this balance change, I think it's just a wasted opportunity. I think they should have either added an extra way for him to get missions, so he reliably can get like 3 missions per fight, so that would mean that he can get ramped up in 3 fights as opposed to 4 to 5 fights now. That would give kind of like a major difference to the character itself, meaning that you wouldn't have to bring him in as many fights, meaning you would be better able to accept some chip damage you accumulate along the way. And B, obviously there is the issue of his block proficiency, which was not addressed or even properly spoken to. So basically it's the same character. It's the same exact Cull Obsidian that we had before, with a tiny bit better damage output at the beginning and tiny bit worse damage output at the end. And all in all, unfortunately, it doesn't really make the difference that I think they wanted to make. And as we can see here, second fight took us about 60 something hits, and previously I'm quite sure I managed to get down that Captain Marvel quite a bit quicker. Now, granted, I did mess up, and granted, when we are going to be on 10 of these charges, later on we're going to have some ridiculous damage output. So I'm just going to fast forward quickly through some of these Realm of Legend opponents as I narrate in the background, because, well, A, I didn't have too much time to record perfect gameplay, so I will be making some mistakes throughout, and B, I think we all are kind of familiar with Cull Obsidian and what he does in his base, therefore there's not too big of a need to watch through the entire fights at the full speed. But yeah, so the few points that I touched already is, number one, I think I read Brian Grant, not read, I watched Brian Grant's full video about these balance changes, and he already called it a missed opportunity when it comes to Cull Obsidian, and it definitely feels so upon first impression. Now, obviously, I'm still gonna playtest the character more. I'm gonna bring him in more Act 6, see if maybe there are some places where he's viable now. But it doesn't look too great for the guy because he's still a fairly clunky big dude that doesn't do anything special and is a bit of a trouble to ramp up initially anyways. And then once you have ramped him up, normally he's half dead and he doesn't really have much utility. Occasionally his damage output can outweigh the lack of utility, but still that doesn't really provide you with a solution to the problems that you are required to solve in Act 6 and much of the variant content. And upon breaking down the character even further, it definitely kind of like seems that the character is basically going nowhere. He's not going to get any more popular. If anything, he's going to get less popular because you're going to put on smaller numbers at the end of it. And unfortunately, also for Cull Obsidian, there is just no content for him to really shine. If you take a look at everything that has been released and everything that is available in game in more kind of like difficult capacity, then we have variants 1 through 4. In variant 2, obviously he shines because he's an extra large champion. Variants 1, 3 and 4 he kind of sucks for, or at the most it doesn't do anything special. 6.1 to 6.2 to 6.3. 6.1 he definitely can have his uses, but only because it doesn't require as much of a utility and he has access to buffs and debuffs, so he can do like buffed up lanes. But then again, there are so many champions that fit that bill, and giving him a pass on that would seem unfair. 6.2 definitely he cannot be used well in majority of the global nodes, or at least there are far better options. And 6.3, quite frankly, I think even if you could use him for some lanes, which is not many, let's get that clear, because 6.3 has very specific champion requirements for like each different lane. And out of all of the quests, maybe you can find like 5 to 6 lanes, so maybe 1 out of 6 quests, let's say, he can be used, but it's still problematic to find where, and once you do, to deal with that extreme attack bonus and attack damage, because for those of you who haven't noticed, 6.3 champion attack is multiple times higher than the one that is in Abyss of Legends. So 6.3 opponents attack point wise is definitely the most jacked content that we have available, and yeah, he still won't do particularly great there just because he can't take a blocked hit. But here, let's watch this level 3 against Black Panther. We're gonna see that he's still capable of delivering some insane numbers, and here we check it out in slow motion. 177k plus 213k, I believe, so that was close to 400k level 2. So that definitely shows you that he still hits like a tank, and that basically means he hasn't been changed, because yeah, the initial fights are relatively pretty much the same, and the end result is relatively pretty much the same as well. And that is kind of unfortunate. Once again, for lack of better expression, it seems like a missed opportunity for most part. And yeah, so here we are taking down Realm of Legends Wolverine with 23 hits. It's insane. It's crazy amount of damage. Ridiculous amount of damage. But it doesn't make him any more versatile, doesn't make him any more useful, and the initial ramp up didn't change much. Didn't change much at all. Especially because initial ramp up, kind of like now more so than ever, also depends on how well you manage to play aggressively for the first 5 to 10 seconds of the fight, which is what I'm going to showcase after the Realm of Legends clips, which basically means that, especially now, Cull Obsidian with one charge effectively can finish the fight out in the same time or even quicker than Cull Obsidian with 4 charges or 6 charges, depending how aggressive you are. And or just how well AI plays into your parries, so on and so forth. So that is also going to extend the point further that it's pretty much no easier or harder to ramp him up. And yeah, so here we have like 30 something hit Realm of 35 hit Realm of Legends Black Bolt kill. It's crazy. It's great amount of damage. I think we also got like 32 hit vision kill in there somewhere, and so on and so forth. So yes, he still hits like a tank. He's not been nerfed to the ground. He's not been completely ruined. He's insanely powerful damage output champion. But that didn't solve pretty much any of pre-existing changes, and they can call this a balance update, but in reality they might have switched the I don't know, lever or the showcase of him being 1% more balanced. Yeah. When you take a look at the champion as a whole, pretty much nothing has changed. Still can't bring him in vast majority of the content. Still not going to use him in AW or AQ. Still not going to use him for majority of Act 6 or variant stuff. And he's a fun champion that you can do some really fun things, but practicality-wise, would I ever consider bringing him in when I'm jumping in first in like Act 6.4 that's about to come? No, definitely not. So yeah, and that pretty much leads me to believe that I probably will end up selling this guy. Now, obviously, I'm not entirely certain. We still have quite a bit of time to play around with him, which I will do. And hopefully I'll find him somehow grow on me. But currently, I probably rank 2 unduped Vision Arcus above him, or at the very least, I'd take my Venom to rank 5 as a 5-star instead of this guy. So that pretty much kind of like tells you that I'm not even disappointed or outraged or anything like that with this balance change. It just didn't change really anything and provided me with an opportunity to rank down this guy and get my resources back. So that's a thing, and that's what I'm going to use. Do I feel that I should have been entitled to this option? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm definitely going to use the opportunity to get my catalyst back, because this champion has not earned them since I ranked him up, probably around like a year ago now. So that is that. So that was about 36 hits to take down that vulture. And yes, we did have class advantage, but still we were only on the 1 charge. Previously, I think that fight I got down like 40 something hits. And now we're going to be up against She-Hulk. So keep in mind that even though with class advantage, previous fight took 36 hits. Now this fight, seemingly we're just not either getting as lucky with the crits, because AI is still playing in our hands. We're still landing all our parries. We're still managing to be aggressive. Everything's working out for us. We did land the heavy attacks. Now I did kind of like slip here, let Thanos' blessings expire to tiny bit quicker, and that made all the difference in the world, because you can see that 23 hits in, she's still at 50%, and we pretty much do not have any armor breaks anymore. Our fury is about to wear off, and this fight is going to take 40 plus hits. Now, could I have played it a bit better and maybe managed to get in that combo with the Thanos' blessings? Yes, definitely, that would have helped a lot. But this just reimburses the idea that yes, it might be slightly bit easier to ramp up Cull, but in reality, when you're fighting, it really depends a lot on you, how aggressive you can be initially, and basically just how well AI plays into you. Because if something or anything goes wrong, all this increased potential in ramping up, Cull Obsidian pretty much goes out of the window. And that fight was like closer to 50 hits. So we went up by 10 hits, even though we had 4 more Thanos' Blessings, just because I didn't manage to get one combo in with Thanos' Blessings active. And now we have 6 of them. And is he absolutely shredding this Joe Fixit at 6 Thanos' Blessings? No. And that, yeah, pretty much kind of like settled it for me when I looked at this, when I looked at a couple of other fights. I just don't see big enough difference for me to validate all the commotion in the community about this change to begin with. And basically it meant nothing. Only thing this balance update did or meant for me is that I have a chance to make a decision to rank him down. But that'll pretty much do for this video. I will keep you guys posted what I ultimately decide to do with my Cull Obsidian. But for most part, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think about this balance update. And I will catch you guys soon. Don't forget to hit that sub.